Hello and welcome to the garden. Well, the weather certainly has improved, but I've got a bit of a problem in this greenhouse now. I noticed last week a little bit of speckling on the leaves of one of the peaches, and that is a sure sign of red spider mite. And sure enough, within a week, the damage is starting to become really quite obvious, and I can see webbing and lots of mites. So today I'm going to tackle that with a biological control. So I'm sure there are various things I could spray onto these plants to tackle the red spider mite, but I would much rather do this in a more natural way. And what I'm going to use is a small predatory mite. So the red spider mites, if you're not familiar with them, they are a very small mite that sucks the sap of the plants and particularly the leaves. And the first sign is usually some yellow speckling on the leaves. We tend to get them in the greenhouses most years, very often in small numbers where I don't really have to worry about them. I can just ignore it. And I'm sure there are some natural predators that will deal with them. The numbers don't seem to build up to large proportions. Some years though, and this looks to be one of those, the numbers really do build up quite significantly, and then the damage can be quite significant. It can cause lots of leaf loss on the plants, and sure, the plants will grow new leaves, but in the meantime they've had a checking growth. This year's crop may have been harmed by that, so it's a good idea when it looks a little bit dodgy to do something about it. So there are actually several biological controls you can use for red spider mite. Earlier in the year when temperatures are too low, there's a different mite that you can use, and also maybe in the height of summer when temperatures can be rather higher, there's also one that you can release early in the year before there's any sign of red spider mite infestation. That one will feed on other prey in the meantime, and as soon as the red spider mites appear, it will start to tackle those. This one though is the sort that is released when there are already red spider mites present. So you have to wait until you see signs of them, and then you can release this, and these will breed faster than the red spider mites, and they're going to eat a lot of them in the process. So this is a solution I've used several times in the past, and it's always been quite effective, and I like it because it's entirely natural. I'm not going to spray any chemicals or nasty things on these plants. So first of all, let me show you the damage. So here's a leaf that's starting to be affected. These yellowing areas and the sort of speckled patches, that is a sure sign of red spider mite, perhaps even more visible underneath. Now, as that develops, the leaves start to look rather unhealthy. You can see that these leaves here are perhaps less healthy, and these here are very bad indeed. And you probably can't make out on the film, but there is webbing, very fine webbing here, and if I take a close look, it is absolutely covered with red spider mite. And again, on the tip of this shoot, there's quite an infestation here. There's a lot of webbing and just dozens and dozens of the mites. So this has developed pretty quickly, and if I don't do something about it, I'm going to lose a lot of these leaves. Now, I don't care too much for these. These are the terminal shoots on the fruiting wood, so this entire branch is going to be cut out after the peaches are harvested. So it's not like this is somehow some kind of permanent damage, but I don't want it to start affecting some of the younger and more important shoots, and I really don't want to see a lot of widespread leaf loss, because that's going to set this plant back. So these predatory mites, they come in a tube like this, and there's some kind of filler in there. This looks like it might be sawdust, could be vermiculite or something like that, but there's some kind of filler in there, and then there are hundreds of microscopic mite. Well, you can just see them if you look very closely. You can just make out the mites in there running around. I've got 1,000 here, and that's probably enough to deal with the problem I've got here at the moment. Maybe if the infestation was more widespread and in both greenhouses, then I'd need, I would think, at least 2,000 of these. When releasing these, I'm going to look for places where the red spider mite is concentrated, and I'm just going to tap out some of the contents of this tube onto the leaves in those areas. And when I'm finished, I will then put the rest of the tube on the ground at the base of the plant, and any of the predatory mites that are left can then crawl up the tree and find their targets. For some reason, this variety of peach seems particularly susceptible to the red spider mite. This is early rivers, and it very often shows damage on here when the other peach, the Bellegarde, does not. And even right now, there's very little sign of red spider mite bothering the other peach. I will probably take a close look and put a few mites over there, but most of the problem at the moment is focused on this one. This is unfortunate because this one is the one that's carrying the big crop. So we can have the mites affecting the vines later, and there will be markings on these leaves, but actually these look quite healthy at the moment. So I'm just going to focus on distributing these predatory mites on this plant here. So this really couldn't be easier. All I need to do is just shake out some of this medium, and undoubtedly a whole load of the mites are going to come with it into the areas where the red spider mites are present, and they will start to feed on those quite quickly. Well, with a bit of luck, those hungry little fellas are going to enjoy feasting on the red spider mite banquet I've laid on for them. They should be able to bring that infestation under control within a few weeks. If things start to look worse, or it spreads to the other greenhouse, or the other peach tree starts to show lots of signs of damage, then I may well repeat this treatment in a week or two. But in the past, I think it's controlled it fairly well with just one release. But anyway, that is all for this video. So thanks ever so much for watching, and bye for now.